welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. I had a really interesting astral travel that I have to share. I think like right now, humanity, especially Americans, are understanding disclosure of different humanoid species. And I had an interview with a humanoid species last night in my dream, and I'm being told to share. It was a mole person. So that was interesting. But it was okay, so the yard that I was in was my old house in Wisconsin. So this morning when I woke up, I was like, does that mean that this is like a species that's in the Midwest or what? And I don't think I've really gotten clarity about that, so we're just gonna leave it open-ended. People are starting to talk about shapeshifters and demons and the greys and reptilians and different species of humanoid or extraterrestrial using human masks or whatever, right? So I've seen shapeshifters. I saw shapeshifters in Los Angeles at Planet Fitness? Yeah, at Planet Fitness on Washington Boulevard. There were two women on the stair steppers who shifted directly in front of me. It was so crazy. And yesterday someone started talking about how the Epstein files have different disclosures about humanoid species and shapeshifting being one of them. LA is like the hotbed of weird ass demonic energy. And so I shared in that comment section, like, hey, I've seen shapeshifters in LA. And I said, like, keep your consciousness and your innocence, like, intact. Like, keep your soul intact, because that's the determining factor. No, I'm busy right now. No. That's the determining factor of whether or not you are going to still be... No, Niall. I'm saying I'm doing something. Anyway. So last night, this other guy, said something on that post, or on my comment, and he said, what you saw was a demon. And I said, actually, you didn't see it, I did. And I don't think it was a demon. And then someone else said, well, I think he's just saying that shapeshifters are demons. And I said, yes, I understand what he's saying, but I don't agree with that. I don't think that every humanoid species is a demon. I don't. I think that demons have their own lineage, their own... I think that demons are their own thing. If you've never watched the movie or the show Discovery of Witches it's on Netflix, I highly recommend watching that, because demons work with the witches and the vampires to make collectively, like, the magical realms accessible and, protect the humans from it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because a lot of people are starting to have these conversations, and this is something that I've been, like, really waiting for. I haven't felt comfortable because of my past sharing this stuff. So anyway, last night, so I've been visited by the Greys when I was in Cottonwood, which is like the Sedona Jerome area. You're like, Cottonwood's in between Sedona and Jerome. So Jerome is like one of the most haunted places in Arizona. Sedona has vortexes, and it's a pretty well known fact that there's like a lot of alien or UFO activity there. And I was visited by 3 Greys when I was there, but they didn't do anything. They were just observing me. And so the Greys are a different alien species, right? So I don't think the Greys are as malicious as like Hollywood has made them out to be, because anytime there's any sort of alien, I'm getting the movie Signs and Scary Movie 3, which goes over Signs, but the gray aliens are what, like, Hollywood deems as the alien species. But if the Hollywood is run by, reptilian race or more demonic entities, then yeah, they're gonna scapegoat a different alien race. That just makes sense, right? Anyway, so I was observed by Greys, but I just told them to leave me alone, and then I never saw them again. But last night in my astral travels, okay, so I was standing in my yard, and there was like, we discovered this huge hole. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this looks like a cave. And So we started covering, like, putting dirt in the hole, and we were like, okay, well, let's, like, make this go away, right? It was like a huge trench. And as we're putting dirt in, the other side of the hole, the dirt started coming back at us, and then a person emerged, and we were like, what the fuck? And it was this mole person, and it was a guy, and he was wearing like Janko jeans and like very 90s clothes, and he was completely humanoid except his hands. He had like mole hands, like big claws, so that he could dig. He even had a cell phone and shit. And so initially I was like, we were all like, I don't remember who I was with, but there were other beings with me in the astral travel who were like witnessing this, but I was the one that like had the encounter and like interviewed. So there were a couple small dogs also that I remember. And so I think people were like, oh my god, are the dogs going to be hurt? But he's like, we're not like monsters. We just like live in the ground. And he was like, I have a phone, like. And so I remember saying to him, so you guys are just like us, except you have claws. And he was like, yeah, like he was living, he was clothed, complete humanoid, but with big claws, like long fingernail claws. I'm getting like sloth. I mean, that's the way I can describe it. But they weren't even that long. Like sloths are like really long. They were just like ability to dig. And so when I woke up, I was like, oh god, I have to share this, huh? And they were like, yeah. So there's mole people. And I think it's interesting because as I've been reflecting on this since I've been consciously awake, I'm like, the people in Las Vegas that live in the tunnels, so there's a tunnel system under Las Vegas, and a lot of homeless folks live in them. And I'm pretty sure they're called the mole people. Yeah, mole people. Las Vegas is the first thing to come up. Mole people in Las Vegas refers to the estimated thousands of unhoused individuals. Where did it go? Who live in a vast network of underground storm drains, seeking refuge from extreme desert temperatures, creating makeshift communities and surviving in harsh, flood-prone conditions beneath the city's glitz. These tunnels offer shelter in a unique environment, but the residents face dangers like flooding, lack of services, displacements. So I think that's interesting. I've heard of indigenous folks talking about here in the Southwest talking about ant people. And I wonder if there's a relation between ant people and mole people. The ant people are significant figures in Hopi and Zuni Native American mythology, revered as altruistic underground dwelling beings who saved humanity from cataclysmic events by sheltering them in their subterranean homes. These ant-like beings are credited with teaching survival skills, food storage, and helping humans endure, particularly during the destruction of the first two world wars, or first two worlds. What? Okay. Survivors or saviors of humanity, according to the Hopi legend, when the world was destroyed by fire or ice, the virtuous or good people were guided safely by the ant people. So that's interesting. I wonder if that's why this ant or this mole person made a but this seems like a different person, because the mole person that I met last night was like a bigger guy. He was a man. He was like a bigger guy, but he wasn't like, I'm getting like Hagrid, but he wasn't that big. But he was like, built like Hagrid, and then had like these huge claws. But again, he was wearing like human clothes, and had a cell phone, right? So like he knew what was going on. So it's interesting that is showing up now. So the physical appearance of the ant people, they were described as beings with thin waists, sometimes depicted as having features similar to insects, and they lived in underground cities or caves. Okay, so that's the Hopi and Zuni is the area I live in, essentially. Let's see, mole people species. Let's see if there's anything on this. Mole people primarily refers to a fictional subterranean humanoid species characterized by pale, scaly skin, large, sensitive, light sensitive eyes, and massive claw hands for digging. I wasn't scared of him. I don't. What does subterranean mean? There was a movie made in 1956 called The Mole People. So anyway, I met one last night. Super nice, cool. I mean, I think the essential energy of it was like, again, because I said the his arrival came after we were trying to like refill his hole, right? His tunnel. And so it was like he was like, "No." And I think that was it. It was just like it wasn't there probably wouldn't have been an interaction if we would have just been like, whatever, it's just a trench. But again, remember I was telling you it took place in my old house. And so it was like, so I don't know, what does subterranean mean? Is that an area? Terranean. Is that just under the ground? Existing, occurring, or done under the Earth's surface. So yeah, I don't know. It's super interesting. So I don't know. The mole people are showing up, which is interesting. I don't get to choose my astral travels, but I did want to share. So I think one of a couple things. The powers that be have really pushed AI to the forefront, so that do you guys remember the woman on the plane? The like, he is not real woman. A lot of people now that the Epstein files are out are being like, oh yeah, no, maybe she wasn't crazy, right? And I think for a lot of us who have seen things or known things ahead of time, this is kind of our season of like sitting back and relaxing and knowing that like we were never wrong, right? Like I never deserved to be called crazy because I just had information beforehand, right? So anyway, the mole people I think are here to, they're living their own lives, right? There's like a parallel existence, which I think could be the case for a lot of humanoid species. But the ones that are in charge right now, the reptilians or the vampires or whatever you want to call them, I believe they are some sort of reptilian race because of the preying upon humanity. I don't think that the mole people are here to prey on humanity as the Hopi and Zuni know also about the ant people. They were here to support the creatures on the surface, right? We're just creatures on the Earth's surface. Have you guys ever seen, there's a Hallmark movie, and it's been remade a million times, called The Journey to the Center of the Earth. I highly recommend watching that, but it's kind of giving that vibe where you go deep enough, or like Kong, or all of those movies, right? Even the Mole People movie from the 50s. There's a reason that shit is made, right? So, I don't know. It was interesting, but it was cool. I mean, I remember blatantly, like, he and I were talking, and I remember being like, so you guys are just like us? And he was like, yeah, except we have claws. And I was like, yeah, I see that. And that makes sense because you need to, like, dig, right? So, I don't know. I know that a lot of people aren't going to be able to grasp this, so I don't know why you're watching it. But yeah, I did meet a mole person last night. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of. So the AI is being pushed because the veil is thinning, right? We're in this age of Aquarius, so certain entities are unable to hide behind the human. I would also recommend watching the movie They Live. I always recommend watching the movie They Live. But that's about like this evil reptilian race coming and controlling humanity. It was a movie made in the 80s. And for my hidden messages in media course, it's the first movie that we explore because it has it's a very accessible way to think about the ways in which we have been indoctrinated and controlled and lied to, right, through media. So, highly recommend watching They Live if this is a completely new concept for you to think about. I know plenty of people within humanity think that humans are the only ones. They don't even think like life exists like on other planets, right? That's a very egotistical stance. We are not the only ones. I think Earth is a place and plane of existence for a lot of different beings. And I think a lot of us are here to help humanity forward, including, like I said, I think the Greys are just mostly observers and um, uh, scapegoats, right? The reptilian race, I believe, I don't know. I mean, we're only human, and like this is information that you kind of have to explore within your soul. It's not information that like you're gonna read about. I mean, people have written about it, right? People have, like me, have had experiences and they've written it down. But it's kind of something to explore on your own, right? So if this resonates with you, to be like, what? There's other forms of beings? Yeah, there are. Um, so maybe start exploring that for yourself. Um, but yeah, I can only share my experience, and that doesn't mean that you have to like agree with it or accept it as your truth. But yes, it was a very distinct conversation with a mole person last night. So I have no fear. We all exist within different realms and um, things, but the powers that be have really pushed AI to make people stay in like not accept reality, right? I'm working on a sticker line right now, and I have a sticker that addresses that, but I'm not ready to launch it yet because I don't have the proper machinery yet. Um, but I do have a sticker that speaks to that. So, um, I've always wanted to have my own sticker line. Anyway, yeah, mole people are real. Again, he was wearing like Janko jeans and like I don't know. It was interesting, but that's it. Have a good one.